EuroBasket has come to an end. What did we learn about Franz, about Tristan, about Goga, and what will they bring to the Orlando Magic? It's time to put a bow on our time in Latvia. It's our EuroBasket wrap here on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is September 16th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. I'm a credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, it's time to put a bow on EuroBasket. We're going to put the basketballs away for a few more weeks until training camp starts 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, we will have Orlando Magic basketball back in our lives on a daily basis. We'll be here daily before then, but we're going to get there. So let's put a bow on what we learned and what we saw from the Magic perspective over at EuroBasket. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Be one of our Orlando Magic dailies. Like I said, we are 2 weeks away from the opening of training camp. Get in the habit now. Get your reps in now. Subscribe to Locked On Magic so you can get it every single morning, every single day in your inbox, and listen every day because the season's here. It's here. And frankly, it's here. All part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. On yesterday's show, we chatted with Matt George of Locked On Kings, who Dennis Schroeder plays for the Kings now, to just kind of bask in the glow and bask in the glory of Germany's win in EuroBasket. We did try and spin things forward into the NBA, but that episode was about celebrating the championship. And I'm going to get more into detail on this take, but I want to make something very, very clear, just clean up something from yesterday. This was an incredible victory for Germany. This was an incredible victory for Franz Wagner. This was an incredible victory for everybody. And that victory deserves its celebration on its own. I think what happened or what happened in Sunday's game was, for the first time in this tournament, the Magic's interests and Germany's interests diverged. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Franz Wagner had an incredible tournament. I want to make this really clear. Franz Wagner had an incredible tournament. He led Germany in scoring for the second straight tournament, which is a good thing. We want to see that. He was 8th in the tournament in scoring with 20.8 points per game. He averaged 5.9 rebounds per game. He shot the ball exceptionally well for a high usage player, 46.4%. He was 11 for 38 from three. He struggled a little bit from three, but he had some really good moments and some really strong games from three. He shot better than 40% from three during group play. He struggled a lot in the knockout round. Franz Wagner had 20 points in the first half against Finland in the semifinal. He had 23 points against Slovenia. He scored 16 of his 18 points in the first half against Turkey. Whereas in previous tournaments, we saw him play and struggle in these big games. Franz Wagner is very clearly grown and become a significantly better player, to the point that he provides plenty without really ever touching the ball. What I mean by the Magic's interests and Germany's interests started to diverge. If you remember back before EuroBasket, we talked with Andre Vogt, and he said that this tournament kind of began or is kind of the beginning or the continuation of the inevitable transfer of the torch from Dennis Schroeder to Franz Wagner. Now, look, Dennis Schroeder made the shots that won the game. Deserves all the praise, deserves all the recognition. There is talk today from, I think SiriusXM did a segment on this, and it's not crazy to say this. Dennis Schroeder might be a basketball Hall of Famer. That sounds crazy to the NBA brain because he's just been a veteran role player. He's, still in the league, obviously. But what he has done for German basketball, taking the torch from Dirk Nowitzki and getting them to this point and being kind of the lead force on 2 gold medal winning teams now in the World Cup and now in EuroBasket, Dennis Schroeder deserves all the flowers. Give him all the flowers. Deserved MVP. He had a great tournament. In a lot of ways, he did take a step back. He was more of a passer and distributor. But what we wanted to see as Magic fans was not what Germany needed. We wanted to see Franz Wagner take those shots. We wanted to see him take a leadership role. We wanted to see him be the guy and be unequivocally the guy. If anything, because Franz is on a team where he is the team leader, we want to see him take over that role elsewhere, the best player and team leader. Now, look, I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing that he defers to a veteran player in Dennis Schroeder, but I think we can all agree that Dennis Schroeder does some things that are a little annoying. From a basketball perspective, you kind of live with the bad to get the good. And even in Sunday's game, there was a lot of bad to live with. And what frustrated most about Sunday's game was not necessarily that Dennis Schroeder was the one that closed the game. It was that Franz was just so uninvolved. 1 for 2 in the second half after dominating the first half. If the game would have stopped at halftime, I would have sat there and said, this is unequivocally Franz Wagner's team. Franz Wagner is doing everything humanly possible to keep his team in the game, to give them the chance to win. He is not allowing them to lose. That's what we want to see from a star. And Franz did that for much of this tournament. So I don't want to put everything on one game or one moment or anything like that. He gave Germany exactly what they needed at various points of the tournament. Against Slovenia, going head-to-head with Luka Doncic, he shot 5 for 17. He shot 29.4% from the floor overall, 5 for 14 on 2-pointers. But he still had his hand on every part of that game, making 13 of 14 free throws. In fact, Franz Wagner averaged 7.9 free throw attempts per game in this tournament. A really encouraging sign that hopefully carries over, where he's already pretty good at getting to the line, but if he's even better, even better. Instead, though, now that I've had more than 24 hours to reflect on things, yes, I would have liked to have seen Franz Wagner be more involved in the second half as a Magic fan. Again, Germany did what they needed to do to win. The thing that stands out about Germany, the thing that makes them such a good team, is they understand their roles and what they need from each other, and they trust each other. And honestly, now that we've had some distance from the game and maybe some of those frustrations as Magic fans, again, German fans, keep celebrating. Don't let me spoil the party because I'm about to send the compliments my way. I think what this game actually said is that Franz Wagner gets it. At the end of the day, Franz knows he can be the best player on the team, but he understands he doesn't always have to be. And if the team is rolling and he's in a supporting role, he's not going to stand in the way of that. I happened across a podcast that I really like. And it's an episode that I've listened to maybe 2 or 3 times already. And every time I listen to it, it reminds me of what's important. It was the first episode of Bill Simmons' The Book of Basketball 2.0 podcast. Really great podcast. Listen to it from start to finish. It's fantastic. But if you read Bill Simmons' Book of Basketball from 2009 and his updated version in the podcast form, he talks a lot about this thing called The Secret. It's not that book that Oprah celebrated or promoted. The Secret is literally the understanding that as a star, it is my job to make everyone else's life easier. That it is my job to be willing to sacrifice to make everyone else happy and give the team what they need. It's the understanding of when to attack and when not to attack. It's something I've talked about a lot. It takes some trial and error. I think it's obviously like when you're a great team and you're really good and competing for a championship, you kind of have to understand this thing to be really successful, because if you're just selfish all the time, if you're just going for your own, you're not going to win as a team. Franz Wagner, I think, he may not even realize it. Who knows? I think he understands this intuitively. I think he was willing to make that sacrifice on Sunday. His team needed him in the first half. They didn't need him to push the issue or force things in the second half. Everything else was working. And that is a powerful thing. Because right now, the Magic are trying to win. Right now, what matters most to the Magic is winning basketball games, is getting deeper into the playoffs, winning playoff series, winning these big games, the kind of big games that Franz Wagner just won at EuroBasket. And in this critical moment when we all wanted to see Franz be the star, he was the star when he needed to be, and he was a good teammate when he needed to be. And again, that's the secret sauce of this German national team. This German national team understands the secret. They understand what it takes to win. It's trust, it's communication, it's camaraderie, it's sacrifice. And that's why they're EuroBasket champions. Slovenia pushed them. Portugal pushed them. They didn't play a perfect tournament. They dominated this tournament. They went undefeated. They didn't play perfectly. But every time they were tested, they did not blink. They did not give an inch. They attacked right back. And that's why they're celebrating a championship in Berlin right now. That's why they're celebrating a championship all throughout Germany, not just Berlin, Munich, Dusseldorf, all those places. Ulm. I'm going through all my teams that I know from the Bundesliga. They understood what it took to win. And if that's the biggest thing that Franz Wagner brings back to the Magic, then the Magic are a little bit closer to understanding what it takes to win too. Let's get in then to one of the big surprises of this tournament. My doubts that Tristan da Silva are quickly going away. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get the boost when you need it. We all get tired in the middle of the day. It's just a natural thing. We all work hard. We wear ourselves out, but sometimes you just need that extra push to get through the end of the day. That lunch rush is bringing you down. You still got 2 hours of work to do. That's where 5-Hour Energy goes. Or you need that boost just to get to the workout after you work, to do the things you love to do, the time in your time. That's why 5-Hour Energy is great. It's fast, it kicks in, and it's sugar-free, so you don't have to worry about crashing later. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com, or you can find it on Amazon today. I will admit, I still have a lot of questions about this Magic team. I think I made that clear. We'll dive into some of those questions. We'll dive into some of the things we're excited about and what we're ready to see. There's a lot to get to with this Magic team. And one of the big questions I had was whether they have the depth that they need to succeed. This league has quickly become a lot about depth. Being able to funnel guys in and out, survive these injuries, survive the playoffs. You're going to need, I say this every year, all 15 guys on your roster, the Magic only have 14, but every player on your roster is going to be needed at some point. Everybody plays. Unless you're Udonis Haslem, you're going to play a little bit. There's going to be a stretch of games where you play. 82 games is a lot. And so my big concern is when you look at this Magic lineup, if the Magic go to a 10-man rotation again, which Jamal Mosley typically has done, who knows if he will this year, but we're going to assume he is, it left Tristan da Silva in at the 3. And it's not that I didn't like Tristan da Silva. I thought he had a fine rookie season. I thought he was solid. But at the same time, he played tailed off toward the end of the season, a guy that you expected to really kind of slide in and fit in, shot 33% from three, looked like he hit a little bit of the rookie wall, and was just a non-factor in the playoffs. Played only 5 minutes across 2 or 3 games in the playoffs. There were a lot of questions about Tristan da Silva, just about solidifying his place. And they weren't going to be solved in Summer League. The Magic kind of went to Summer League and said, we want you to be aggressive, make mistakes. And look, he still scored. He still did all those things. He still looked like he was too good for Summer League, which is what you want sophomore players to look like. But we don't know how he fits in. And that's why EuroBasket was important. Because in EuroBasket, Tristan da Silva is going to be asked to do the same things he's going to be asked to do in Orlando. He's going to be asked to defend. He's going to be asked to make open threes and attack closeouts, but not do too much. Stay out of the way. Be a low usage player. To say the least, then, a lot of my questions about Tristan da Silva are quickly being washed away. They're quickly being thrown away. Tristan da Silva was fantastic in this tournament. Fantastic. Finished averaging 10.4 points per game, shot 55.7% from the floor, 18 for 34 from three. That's better than 50%. More than that, there's some outliers. They only played 9 games, so he had 25 points against Great Britain. That was a huge outlier. But in the knockout rounds, in those pressure-packed games, he scored double figures in 3 of those 4 games. He scored in double figures in 4 of his final 5 games. He had 5 points against Slovenia and was 2 for 3 with the 3 in that one. I thought played pretty good defense. In fact, Tristan da Silva's defense was almost as impressive as his offense. My criticism of Tristan da Silva early in the tournament and during the friendlies was that he still looked like a rookie. He still looked like he was kind of feeling his way and kind of figuring out where he belonged. By the end of this tournament, he looked confident. He looked like he understood exactly what his team was asking him to do and was executing it at a high level. In the knockout rounds, he shot 5 for 9 from 3. He scored 11, 5, 13, and 13. He had 13 points in that final game against Turkey. A lot of them in the first half, again. But for a team that needed another shooter to alleviate pressure, to be a kick-out option, to be someone aggressive and confident enough to drive off the dribble and drive off closeouts, that's not something he did regularly for the Magic last year. That's not something that he did consistently for the Magic last year. And if this is the Tristan da Silva the Magic are going to get, then I'm not worried about filling those backup 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not worried about filling those backup forward minutes anymore. Because this is exactly what the Magic need. A reliable three-point shooter, catch and shoot, someone who is a threat to do something else with the ball, so you have to account for him on that end, someone who's not going to make a ton of mistakes, and someone who's going to compete on defense. This was what we were promised when they drafted Tristan da Silva. He was a veteran, someone who spent 4 years in college, someone who could slide right in. And look, he won the Magic some games. He was really valuable last year, just tailed off toward the end of the season. Da Silva had an incredible tournament. And if this confidence carries over, he is going to have a really strong season. He's going to be really good. And this is exactly what the Magic needed. This is exactly what the Magic needed to see, because this is exactly how he's going to play in Orlando. There's no reason to think Tristan da Silva cannot do what he did in EuroBasket for the Magic. The only difference is the three-point line is going to be about a foot further away. And so more than anything else, Tristan looks ready for the role. Getting high-pressure experience and winning at a high level, which this tournament is a high-level tournament, that was really valuable for Franz Wagner. Do not get me wrong. Tristan da Silva got a lot more out of this tournament. Tristan da Silva got a lot more out of this experience, because at a higher level, in the role that he's going to play for this Magic team, for his club team, he delivered in every way. I was so impressed with the way that Tristan played. And again, I always felt like we were not talking enough about him because look, Franz Wagner is the son. Like Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero are the sons of this team. Everything revolves around them. That's how it goes with your stars. He's a max player. We wanted to see, did his three-point shooting improve? Did X, Y, and Z improve? How is he looking? Is he ready to take on the mantle the Magic are going to have for him this season? So it sometimes felt like we weren't talking enough about Tristan. But the way Tristan developed and improved as the tournament went on, as he got more comfortable, as he found his place, as he found his confidence, that's going to be a humongous boost for this Magic team. How big Tristan's role will be for the Magic, we'll talk about rotation here, I think, before the beginning of the season. I think that he will be on the edges of the rotation throughout the year. There'll be stretches where he doesn't play and stretches where he does play. But if this is the Tristan da Silva the Magic are getting, he's going to play and he's going to play a lot because you can't keep someone this valuable off the floor. And the Magic will have to find a way to make that lineup work. So speaking of making lineups work, let's wrap up and talk about Goga Bitadze and what we learned about Goga coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, just like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do every Sunday, it seems. Whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, it's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays so you don't have to go scampering around like Baker Mayfield does at the end of games. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Unlike Germany, Georgia did not have expectations to win this tournament. In fact, getting out of the group was probably going to be considered a success for Georgia. Georgia's got some great top-end talent. Not like top end, but they've got some solid players at the top of their lineup. Obviously, Goga Bitadze, Tornike Shengelia, Alex Mamukelashvili, who plays for the Raptors. Kamar Baldwin is a decent point guard. They have talent on their team, and there's always just a little bit about depth and whether their shooting would come around. To say the least, the fact that Georgia won a knockout round game, made the quarterfinals, beat France, beat Spain, beat some traditional powers. They were officially finished 8th in the tournament. It was a huge, huge, huge victory for this national team program. And Goga Bitadze deserves so much credit for helping Georgia reach that level. Goga Bitadze finished the tournament averaging 15.8 points per game. It was 19th in the league, 19th in the tournament, led Georgia in scoring, and added 5.8 rebounds per game. Maybe the rebounds weren't quite where we want to see them as Magic fans, but it was still a revelatory tournament for Goga. Goga Bitadze shot 8 for 22 from 3, 36.4% from 3. He made 4 threes in a win over Cyprus. Cyprus is probably the worst team in the tournament. They were hosts, so that's how they got in. Made 2 of 4 against Spain, and both of those threes coming in the fourth quarter. The fact that Bitadze was so willing to shoot threes in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games that he played. Let me make sure I counted that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the 6 games that he played, In the 6 games that he played, Goga Bitadze took 22 threes. He took 27 total threes last season. Now, we don't know if this is going to translate. We don't know if the Magic plan to use him as a three-point shooter. We don't know how comfortable he's going to be shooting threes. But the idea of Goga Bitadze being able to operate on the perimeter is a huge deal. We talked about this a ton as it developed throughout the course of EuroBasket, certainly over the summer. It's a huge development. The Magic need more shooting. They need more spacing. They need more threats from the perimeter. And because they got such 2 hard drivers in Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, if they can draw that center even a half step out of the paint, because you got to respect Goga's shot enough to do that, That is a huge, huge, huge game changer for this team. This is Goga's chance. Goga Bitadze is a great scavenger. I mean that endearingly. I don't mean that pejoratively. I don't mean that to be mean. He is a great scavenger. I'm a scavenger. That's how I play. That's how I score my points, whether it's 2K or real basketball. I'm gonna sniff around the offensive glass. I'm gonna cut it along the baseline, be around the basket, and dunk a spot, do all the work. I'll take all the glory. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good. That's good. That's good scoring. That's good pointing. Goga Bitadze is an excellent screener. We saw all this. Adding a new element to his game offensively makes him more valuable. At the end of the day, what's going on for Goga Bitadze, what's going on for Tristan da Silva, what's going on for any player off the bench is be so good they have to play you. And Goga Bitadze is in a battle. It's a friendly one, but he's got to prove that he deserves minutes because when Mo Wagner comes back, Mo's going to get that chance. You're not going to lose your starting spot due to injury unless you're so undeniable that you have to play. And we talked about this toward the end of the tournament, that the issue for Goga Bitadze, it's not about basketball skill necessarily. It's not about whether he can put the ball in the basket, whether he can rebound, whether he can defend. He's got the skill and talent. He's an NBA rotation big. He is a luxury for this Magic team as the third center. What's going to be important for Goga Bitadze remains knowing and understanding how to control his energy and his temperament. It's staying disciplined and locked in on the game plan and not overplaying his hand. That's where he gets himself in trouble. We saw this in the tournament where an overzealous foul, rotating over to try and block a shot that you don't have a chance at, or jumping to block a shot instead of just contesting it, putting yourself out of rebounding position. This is the stuff that's going to determine Goga Bitadze's playing time. And Goga, again, showed us that he is capable. He showed us his game is expanding. It's growing. He's doing what he needs to get minutes. But it's not about basketball skill for him. It's going to be about the mental stuff. It's going to be about the stuff between the ears, the focus, and the detail. The level of detail matters more. The deeper you get in the playoffs, the more little mistakes are magnified, become bigger. You can't make mistakes. And part of that cost Georgia their game against Finland. Look, Finland was going to win that game. They were a much better team. But Goga Bitadze fouling out of the Bosnia and Herzegovina game was huge. Put them in a really bad spot. They had to rely on Greece beating Spain to get to the final. Greece obviously won the bronze medal, but it's a knockout round. But it wasn't a slam dunk. It wasn't easy. Goga Bitadze, just like all these other players, has done the work to improve. But what the Magic are asking to do now, what the Magic need to do now is much finer, is much more detailed, it's much, much different. And that's going to be the challenge for this team moving forward. That's going to be the challenge for Goga Bitadze moving forward. We are closing the book on EuroBasket. It was a fun month of basketball. It was a great tournament. The Magic obviously got a lot out of it. But we are closing the book on this tournament and beginning to look forward to this season, to this 2026 season, and everything it can be. The Magic are preparing to be something different. And that journey is just beginning. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Hemway, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that we are on the official road to the NBA season, it's time to check back in on the Locked On NBA Top 100, voted on by the host of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our Top 100 was formed by experts that cover these teams and players every day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. You can check out my reaction to the list on last Tuesday's and last Wednesday's episode of Locked On Magic. I broke down where the Magic stand in the top 100 and as well talked with Kuka Heel of Locked On Pistons about the Cade Cunningham versus Paolo Banchero debate. You can check all that out in our archives from last week on Locked On Magic. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic, we'll talk about some more unsung heroes, some more players to watch, some players who have their work cut out for them, could be big contributors for the Magic. We'll get to the unsung heroes of the Magic on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.